Basket and Phelps, 92.3 The Fan. All right, let's go to the Weishart Right. We make it right. Call Kyle Wright hotline. We jump right back into the Myles Garrett story. And a guy that I think can give us some great perspective is a guy that you listen to every Sunday when you are watching or listening to the Browns game. Sorry, I lost my mouse here. Somebody hit it behind the other side of the computer. When you're listening to the games. No, it wasn't me. It was not me. When you're listening to the games right here on the Browns Radio Network, he is a super friend of the show. And again, he is on the Weishart Right. We make it right. Call Kyle Wright hotline. He is Andrew Siciliano. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Andrew.
Good morning, guys. And maybe when you watch as well, I mean, growing up as a kid, we would always turn down the TV and turn up the radio, right?
That is exactly how I see it, my friend. I love the thought of your perspective on this trade, knowing your recent history with the Browns and your past history as the preseason play-by-play guy for the Rams and living in L.A. sometimes and living in Cleveland sometimes. So what did you think when this thing went down yesterday?
Well, I mean, let's unpack the emotional part of it first. I hate it. I don't want to see Myles go. I think we all agree, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all agree. Myles is...
It's great to collect Hall of Fame players.
Yeah, and you wrapped your head around it for the last year, ever since the Super Bowl in New Orleans, where he said he wanted out, and you had to stare that in the face and think about the idea that it might happen. Now, granted, AB was adamant just moments ago that they never thought about it last year, and that's everything I heard last year as well. It just wasn't going to happen. But, you started to wrap your head around that possibility a year ago, and watching all the highlights and SportsCenter and GMFB and everything on our phones. I mean, we all stare at our phones all stinking day anyway, and seeing all these great moments, it stinks. And you're like, wow, he was that good. Well, of course you know that in the moment, but to see all the highlights and all the memories and, him running off the field, bumping hips with Baker in 2020 on one of the greatest memories of my adult life, it hurts. So I get it. For every fan who's like, what am I going to do with this jersey? Well, there are going to be more jerseys, and we still have great players. And there are great young Quinshon, Fannin, exciting players, Carson, Mason, all these guys. But it's hard to see this one go because he's one of the greatest ever wear a uniform, period. You could argue he's the best player in the NFL that doesn't throw a football. So it's hard to see him go. At the same time, and I'm going to do the both can be true thing here, they got a good return. And he is 30, despite how great last season was. Everyone wants to compare this to the Micah trade. Well, Micah, they got 2 1s. Yes, they did. They got 2 1s and an aging nose tackle, not an edge rusher, a nose tackle. Kenny Clark's a good player. He's a nose tackle. So this is, for a player 4 years older, a 1 and a dog in Jared Verse and a 2 and a 3. Browns fans are going to love Jared Verse. Love, 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 love. He's not Myles Garrett, and no one is. Myles is the best to ever do it. But you're going to love him. And I don't want people to be disappointed that this wasn't enough. It was a heck of a return. And I think they'll finally get that when they see Jared Verse week 1 on the road in Jacksonville.
The Rams just basically pulled the Matthew Stafford trade, but at defensive end, right? They prefer players. They prefer players over picks. But my thought on this one is this, Andrew, and you tell me: is Myles that much better for the Rams right now? And maybe 3 years down the road to include Verse in this trade along with some pretty good draft capital. That's the thing to me. If I'm the Browns, I'm thinking I've got a defensive end and I have some capital that could lead to some really interesting things down the road.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So I can tell you from speaking with Rams people, they absolutely did not want to include Jared Verse. Period. They wanted this trade to be picks only. That's what they wanted this trade. So when AB is telling you that Jared Verse was the game changer, it really was. Because the Rams people are saying the exact same thing. They did not want to give up Jared Verse at all. The Jared trade, I think, is a little misunderstood. A lot of people are like, oh, we had to throw in all these first-round picks because we were dumping his contract. Yeah, they wanted out. They had decided, Sean McVay had decided that he wanted to move on. He wanted to to crank it up a notch, and he wanted to go get Matthew Stafford. And in many ways, the Matthew Stafford trade led to the Deshaun Watson trade. I mean, it was kind of the template, right? Hey, we're going to go all in, trade the picks. We're going to go get the guy because we think we need to take a step up. We could debate the Deshaun trade all you want, and we will, obviously, for many years. But they were very similar trades. Hey, we don't think we're ready. We're good enough to take the next step. Let's go get the guy that we think can take us there. The difference is that the Rams had to throw in those extra first-round picks to go to Detroit because there were other suitors for Matthew Stafford. Washington wanted him. Carolina wanted him. They made very competitive bids. So it was going to be a one-for-one. Goff was always going the other way, but the Rams had to throw in all these other picks because if they didn't, Matthew Stafford could be a Carolina Panther. Or he could be a Commander, and like the sliding doors in the NFL are very different.
2 firsts and a third in that trade, right? 2 firsts and a third going to Detroit.
Whatever it was, I don't remember, but they threw in the ones, and that obviously was the one that when they throw in the ones, everyone's like, you have to throw in the ones to make Brad Holmes take the contract. I mean, well, certainly it helped. And also Brad Holmes had familiarity. The Lions GM was Les Snead's lieutenant here for a number of years. So where was I? Jared Verse, when he hits the open market next year, is going to get it. Well, he's not getting the open market, but when he's extension eligible, is going to get a very good deal. If he continues to ascend, let's put it this way. If he continues to ascend, and after next season, after his third year in the NFL, if the Rams were to say, we don't want to sign him, make us a deal, he would get at least a 1. I would say a 1 and a 3 in return. That's what the Rams could get. I think that's a minimum offer to get Jared Verse. So that's the kind of player they're getting back in return. He is an alpha leader dog. He is a guy who will call out Steeler fans and go back it up. I promise you, because he's already done that with Eagle fans and backed it up. He has no regrets whatsoever. He's funny. He's smart. And he's going to play his tail off. He plays the run as well. You're going to love him. I promise you.
I think it's interesting that it seemed like when they restructured his contract, they said we are open for business. Like to me, that made more sense than anything that maybe. I understand what Andrew's saying, and I think he's saying things that are truthful in the moment, but. How is it not we're open for business, especially when that made the Rams want to kick the tires and start the car and take it for a test drive and buy the car at that point? So I thought there's 2 interesting points to this. 1, were they open for business for the rest of the league? And 2, why do it now? I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, it's a tough one because when news of the restructuring came out, my reaction was, and I asked people around the league, like, I mean, come on, this has to mean trade. And I got a lot of people that wrote back and said, I don't see how it means anything other than trade. But many of them also said in the same breath, that trade may not be this year, that trade may be next year. So the idea that they were going to absolutely sell him off right now, I don't think that was the case because moving they didn't just move the trigger this year. They moved that bonus structure in all subsequent years of his contract. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it.
It gave next year some flexibility as well. But generally speaking, if I'm your investment advisor, right?
Yes.
And you come to me and say, hey, my employer owes me $6 million.
Oh, yeah. Hey, my employer owes me $6 million, Andrew.
Hello. Wait a minute.
What kind of financial investment guy are you that I'm sitting here and they haven't paid me yet? Hop on that, man.
Okay. My investment advisor owes me $6 million. He wants to hold my money for 6 more months. Should I let him do that? Your investment advisor would say, no, we want the money now because we'll put it in some vehicle even in today's market that we trust more than them holding that money. You're losing money, in essence, on interest, like potential interest gained. Now, I don't know the whole back end of the financial vehicle here. Maybe there's some way of escrow. I don't know where Myles could make money if the Browns hold his money, but you get my point. Generally speaking, the player needs something in return. It's without a doubt that this made a trade more palatable for the Browns, certainly with a cap hit. And here we are. The Rams called a number of years ago, and the Browns said no. They called in 2022. That got out this morning. Jordan Rodriguez and Zach Jackson wrote that in The Athletic. And the Browns said, No, but you got to think plenty of teams have called over the years because the NFL isn't much different than your fantasy team, and that's what people got to realize. I mean, people throw a text at their buddies every now and then, going, "Hey, you ever want to trade that guy?" And you're right back, like, "Go jump in a lake." So that's how it happens. And this time, they finally got talking. Can I tell a quick Jared Verse story?
Yeah, go for it. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, I was back in Los Angeles, and Jared had just been drafted into the Rams. They were doing their annual charity 5K. So I was out at that to, say hi to some people and get a nice workout in. And Jared was there with Braden Fisk, who came in from Florida State. They were first and second round picks in the same year in 2024. And Jared and I were talking and, just talking about move to town stuff, like where to live and, what kind of car to get and all that. And during our conversation, he takes out his phone and he starts typing, and he looks up and he goes, "Oh, no, I want you to know I'm still listening. I'm not texting. I'm taking notes." And I said, "You're taking notes?" He's like, "Yeah." And he turns his phone around. I have a notes file, obviously the iPhone notes file. And when I talk to people like you who you have good advice and you've lived here, I'm going to write all this down. I'm going to forget it. So he had a notes file as a rookie. He had just been in LA a couple of weeks, where he was like, "I'm not going to forget any of this stuff, and I'm going to have a game plan for where I'm going to live and how I'm going to commute and what my day-to-day should be." And he was taking notes. The guy's on top of it. You're going to love him, I promise you.
Yeah, but you know what? That's really smart, because living in LA is a little different than living in Akron.
Or Dayton.
Or Dayton. Or Pennsylvania.
Or Berea.
Or Cleveland.
Middleburg Heights.
Yeah.
Or Crocker Park. Or wherever. But
I'd take notes if I had to move to LA.
I mean, take notes when you move anywhere. There's also an HR aspect to the entire NFL that I think people forget sometimes. And we're talking about 21, 22-year-old young men who, you guys, I don't know if you guys have kids college age, but we all have friends who have kids college age. We've all been in those shoes.
Yep.
Where you go to a new town and you got to learn your way around. I mean, it's a major life transition, and we're hoping for these guys to actually perform on the football field as well. So, remember there are people inside those uniforms.
Here's my best advice. Find the bathroom first. Goodbye, Andrew. We appreciate you.
Thank you, bud.
Good man.
Did I ramble a lot? I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
You're great. We love you, Andrew. All right, we'll talk to you later. Peace. Andrew Siciliano, Browns play-by-play guy right here on the Browns Radio Network. On the Wise Heart Right, we make it right. Call Kyle Wright hotline.